What awaits Russia in the coming year of 2026? Which factories will be built? Which strategic projects will begin? What new technology will appear in the country? And which satellites will be launched into orbit? Let's look at the most anticipated events, and we'll also talk about the new hero of the week in a special episode on the channel Vremya Vpered. This year, we are expecting the start of key projects in the extraction of rare earth elements and other minerals. In particular, the company Polyarny Liti will begin construction of a mining and processing plant at the Kalmazerskoye lithium deposit in the Murmansk region. The design of a hydrometallurgical plant for the production of lithium salts for energy storage systems will begin in Tuva as part of the Angara-Yenisei cluster, and the design of a new city in Siberia to meet the needs of this cluster will also begin. Rosatom will open a second gigafactory for lithium-ion batteries. In Komi, the first phase of the project to develop the Pichemskoye titanium deposit will be launched, and Severstal will launch a large complex for the production of iron ore pellets in Cherepovets. In Kuban, the construction of a large gas processing complex will begin. Gazprom will launch the 5th technological line of the Amur gas processing plant and the Amur gas chemical complex. Rosneft will launch the first phase of the Vostok oil project. SIBUR will start producing N-butyllithium, a key special component used in the production of tires and road surfaces, which was previously imported from abroad. The construction of the Port Favor terminal in the Leningrad region will be completed, and the construction of the liquefied natural gas regasification complex in Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky will also be completed. Fieldwork will begin in the Murmansk region for the construction of the future Kola nuclear power plant 2, and in the Primorsky region, work will begin at the site of the future large-capacity nuclear power plant in Cheleznogorsk. A new spent nuclear fuel reprocessing center will be put into operation at the mining and chemical combine. The construction of the M12 Vostok highway section to Tyumen will be completed, and the construction of a road bridge over the Tumanaya River in Primorsky Krai on the border between Russia and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea will also be completed. Rostelecom will complete the construction of the Trans-Eurasian fiber optic communication line to the border with Mongolia in the first half of 2026 and will launch it in test mode. Let's look at the equipment now. "2026 will be a breakthrough year for Russian aircraft manufacturing, which previously went through a long and difficult stage of import substitution and testing. In the first half of the year, the Russified Superjet 100 will be certified and deliveries to airlines will start. Certification will also be completed and deliveries of the first serial Il-114-300 aircraft will begin. Deliveries of the upgraded Tu-214 aircraft will begin, and closer to the end of the year, certification of the upgraded MS-21 will be completed, but deliveries will most likely start in 2027. At the same time, tests of B-200 amphibious aircraft with PD-8 engines will begin. Certification of the LMS-901 Baikal is expected to be completed, and the first prototype of the Russian-Belarusian Osvay aircraft will be created. Certification of the upgraded light training aircraft Tango will begin, and certification of the VK-1600V engine for the light K-62 type helicopter will be completed. We are also expecting quite a few positive news from shipbuilders. At the Severnaya Verf shipyard in St. Petersburg, 2 Project 2250 frigates will be laid down, 2 Project 677 diesel-electric submarines will be laid down, and a shallow draft icebreaker of Project 22740M will be completed and delivered to the customer. Admiralty Shipyards will launch Project ST-192, and the Sredna Nevsky Shipbuilding Plant will launch 2 Project 12700 Alexandrite minesweepers. And finally, the most impressive, the heavy nuclear-powered missile cruiser Admiral Nakimov after deep modernization and rearmament, will join the Navy. The main automotive debut is Avtovaz's new flagship, the Lada Azimut crossover, built on its own independent platform. Also, the first 2 hydrogen-powered trains for suburban transportation will be created, which will first start operating in Sakhalin. There are also plenty of positive news awaiting us in the space sector. The first test launch of the new Soyuz 5 launch vehicle will take place from the Baidarek launch pad at Baikonur, and flight design tests of the converted Start-1M launch vehicle will also begin. The launch of several important spacecraft is planned, including the hydrometeorological satellite Electro-L number 5 and the low-orbit communication satellites Rassvet, which will provide users anywhere on Earth with broadband internet access, including onboard airplanes and trains. And we are also expecting more. The deployment of the first high elliptical satellites will be completed by Rostelecom. In the first half of 2020, for the first time in the history of Russian cosmonautics, a private space launch will be carried out. The Kamchatka rocket from Space Energy Company is supposed to reach an altitude of 100 kilometers above sea level and cross the Kármán line. The most anticipated event, in our view, is the beginning of experimental design for Russia's first reusable launch vehicle, Corona. It will not only be able to launch satellites into orbit, but also return spacecraft from space and even carry out flights from one point on Earth to another in just a few minutes. In other words, we are talking about a fundamentally new type of transport that can change the entire system of not only Russian, but also global logistics. The mass of the Crown is 300 tons. The payload is up to 6 tons, and a single unit can be used up to 100 times. For launches and landings, it is planned to use a simplified launch and landing pad and an unmanned refueling system. Research work has already been completed, which allows us to move on to experimental design. We will be telling you about this and other upcoming projects throughout 2026. So don't forget to subscribe to the Vremya VPeard channel on any convenient platform.